Tally ho, fellow flightners. This is Ben Johnson here with FlightNerdAirForce.com, where we help aviation enthusiasts understand the world of aviation that they love so much and pass FAA written exams, because the gift of flight should be available to anyone who has the passion to learn. Today, we have the exciting day of exploration. We are looking at the Beechcraft Bonanza. The Beechcraft Bonanza is an airplane that in the general aviation world is iconic. People love this airplane for a lot of reasons, which we're going to take a look at today. But we're going to get up and off the ground today. Off the air. We're going to get off the ground, which is a better way to do it. We're going to look at what is so special about the Beechcraft Bonanza. So we are starting off in external view here. We're going to go full throttle. And again, my deal with you today, as is always, is don't judge my my ability with the rudder pedals, because my rudder pedals are crazy, as you'll see here as we get rolling. Not particularly accurate, and they tend to go from 0 to nothing, just like that, with just, I barely touch it with my toes. All right, we are in the white arc and green arc. We're gonna take off. And as you can see on my sim, I had the landing gear toggle up before we even left, because I was playing around with the sim before we got started, trying to work out some technical bugs, and I forgot to put the gear switch back down. So you can see one of the great features with the Beechcraft Bonanza already is it is a retractable landing gear, which means we can tuck the landing gear up inside the belly, which I'll show you right here. I'll put the gear down so you can see those come out. Typical tricycle style landing gear. Yeah, that makes it a very versatile aircraft. It also makes it great for long cruises, makes it more aerodynamic, and gives you a lot better aerodynamic qualities that way. Saves you on fuel, all those bennies. So yeah, retractable landing gear. Actually, this is the Beechcraft Bonanza is a complex high performance airplane, and that means it has an engine that is over 200 horsepower. My rudder pedals are being naughty. I'm gonna kick them, see if it'll center things up. Don't do that in the real world, okay? But I just basically jam the rudder pedal back and forth to sort of straighten things out. The Beechcraft Bonanza is a high-powered, complex aircraft, meaning the engine is over 200 horsepower, which means you get a lot of power. You get a lot of ability to get up and off the ground. It gives you the ability to have more of a payload, in that you're able to get that payload off the ground to get up to higher speeds quicker. It's also complex, which means it has things like electric flaps as opposed to a flap handle. It has retractable landing gear and things like that, electric trim, all that sort of stuff, which makes it a more complex airplane, as opposed to like a Cessna 172, where the landing gear is bolted down. It is in the down position all the time. In the Beechcraft Bonanza, again, we can tuck the landing gear up inside the plane, and also raise and lower the flaps electrically with an electric motor, as opposed to a flap handle. So high performance, complex airplane, which means you do need a special sign off on your license to fly a plane like this. But there are so many benefits to a plane like the Beechcraft Bonanza. It has 6 seats on the inside. Now, the thing with airplane seats is that you can't necessarily use all of them. It depends far more on the weight of the people sitting in those seats and what other load you might have on the plane. So if on the payload. So if you have a ton of fuel, 6 people in this plane, you might very well be over gross maximum weight. But you know, if a couple of those people are kids and you don't have a lot of other baggage and you don't put full fuel tanks, you can probably get away with putting 6 people in there, which makes it great. Like, it's a great family airplane. You can take the family on a trip. take them for, take the whole family for a ride at one time instead of just putting a couple people in the plane at a time. You can also go longer distances. So the range on this, where did I find that? Between 800 and 1,000 miles, nautical miles. Now that's that all depends on what kind of fuel load you're able to put inside, and fuel load's going to depend on how much other things you have in the airplane, like people, baggage, heavy stuff. How much of that other stuff are you going to have in the airplane while you're flying? All right, I'm going to take a pass at the runway here again and bring it in maybe for a touch and go and see how we do. Just to have some fun kicking around. The other thing with the Beechcraft Bonanza, 6 seats, like I mentioned, but it's also got a long range, like I mentioned. The engine's got a lot of power, so it can get you up and off of relatively short strips, short runways, which is super helpful. Can carry relatively heavy loads. And now, again, this is all in the context of general aviation aircraft. There are planes that can handle more load and have a longer capacity, more fuel capacity, longer range, all that kind of stuff. But now you're talking much bigger, much more expensive aircraft. And so for this size of aircraft, it's actually a really versatile airplane. For those of you who know Beechcraft aircraft or know the Bonanza, you will notice something unique about this Bonanza in the sim, and that is that it has a regular tail, a vertical tail, and a vertical stabilizer and a horizontal stabilizer right over the trees. That approach is not recommended in the real world, but we're in the sim, we can do that. Beechcraft Bonanzas are known for having, we're going to do that as a go around, touch and go. Sorry, rudder. The Beechcraft Bonanza is known for having a V-tail. The V-tail has what is referred to as a stabilator. You can see the video of me here in the corner. The tail is actually the shape of a V. So in normal aircraft like we have here today, we have a vertical stabilizer and a horizontal stabilizer, and those stabilize us in 2 directions of rotation. The V-tail, which is also called a stabilator, because it combines the functions of a stabilizer and an elevator, right? And really as a rudder as well. It combines those features. But it also blends the stability factor of both the vertical and the horizontal tail of stabilizers. It combines them into one V shape. So the Bonanza is known for that V-shaped tail. This model in the sim does not have the V-tail, this particular model, but I wanted to highlight the Bonanza for you here today. Great aircraft. Great airplane. A lot of people like it because it is a transition from training aircraft to bigger things. So for a lot of people, if really what you want to get into is single engine, small general aviation aircraft, and that's what you want to fly, this might be a goal for you. If you don't want to move into multi-engine type of aircraft, this airplane is a great airplane because of its versatility. Again, it's also a very comfortable aircraft to fly in. The room inside the cabin is a lot more than you might usually get. But again, it's a transition. It's a step up from a Cessna 172. So a lot of people, you'll start training in maybe a 152 or a 150, and then maybe part of your training you might do in a 172. Or something like that. It could be the Piper variant of those aircraft to a Warrior or something like that. But you'll start off with a smaller airplane and you'll work your way up to something bigger. And this, for a lot of people, is a great bigger step, if you will. It is, it's bigger and more spacious on the inside. It's comfortable. It can haul, like I said, it's got 6 seats, so you can put a lot of people in it. You can put a lot of much more weight in it. Maximum takeoff weight is between 3,200 and 3,600 pounds, depending on the model, what kind of engine you got going, all that stuff. But it's a great step up. And for many people, this is sort of a goal for them. The trade-off there is it is more complex. The Bonanza has a reputation, and to be clear, that reputation is earned not because of the airplane, but because of the pilots who fly them. It is known in some circles as the Doctor Killer. It is not the Bonanza's fault that it got that name. It got that name because people who, there's a line in aviation, a fool and his money are soon flying more airplane than he can handle. And what that means is people who have a lot of money love to jump quickly to getting airplanes that are like a dream airplane or a goal airplane. They can get to it quickly because they have the resources to do so. And unfortunately, what they have a tendency to do, some people, not all people, there are some that do this. Unfortunately, they're the ones that make the news. They buy a plane that they are not ready to fly yet. They don't have the proper training. They don't have the skills yet to step up into that more complex, higher power aircraft. But they are able financially to jump into it. And so they do. And then they get themselves into situations that they don't know how to get out of, or they don't have the skills yet to deal with. And they end up hurting themselves and others when they crash or have problems or whatever. And so the Bonanza, because it's that perfect next step up for a lot of people, ends up being an airplane where people get the plane because it's sort of a dream airplane, but they don't know how to fly it. I say, as my rudder goes goofy and I kick the rudder pedal to keep it on the runway. But people can get themselves in trouble because it's harder to fly. There's more things that the pilot needs to keep on top of. You're dealing with gear. Again, a common thing, especially early on in training in aircraft that have landing gear, is to forget to put the gear down when you come down to land. And so it does happen that people, forget to put the gear down and end up getting in a wreck, hurting themselves, hurting other people. Thus the nickname. Again, that is not the Bonanza's fault. That is the fault of people who are not ready to fly an amazing airplane like this. And in one sense, that's not to pick on people's flying skills either, but there's a lot of wisdom in aviation to know what your capabilities are and to not exceed your capabilities. Again, we're going to do something here in the sim with this plane that I wouldn't recommend in the real world, but it's the sim, so we can do it. We're going to do a little pass over the water here. Yeah, so the Bonanza is an amazing aircraft. I want to talk about the engine a little bit. I keep saying it has a lot of power. The engine in this aircraft is the Continental IO 540. It is Continental makes great engines. In the world of aviation, general aviation, there are primarily, I know things are changing a lot these days, but historically, traditionally, there have been two primary players in the aircraft engine world, and that is Continental and Lycoming. And Continental, of those two, the way I always sort of pictured it in my head is, again, both companies make good engines, but Continental tend to be bigger engines in bigger airplanes. And if I understand correctly, don't quote me on this, but the tolerances inside the engine and things are a little less tight, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, my perception of them when I was going through mechanic school was always that they were a little bit like the Harley Davidson engine of the aviation world, meaning that they have a unique sound. And part of that is the tolerances inside the parts inside the engine that give it sort of a low rumble when it's running, which is an amazing sound. and they made engines that had a lot of power. So this one, Continental IO 540. That 540 size it's a big engine for general aviation. You're talking about a 6-cylinder engine, and this one is fuel injected. So rather than having a carburetor and then just having your fuel intake come from the carburetor to the cylinder directly, what you have is fuel injectors that are spraying the fuel directly into the cylinder, which produces better fuel efficiency and power and things like that. It's a step up from a carbureted engine, and you avoid some of the problems that you would have with carburetor ice, and things like that. Carb ice is when the low pressure zone inside the carburetor makes the temperature of the air going through the carburetor colder. It cools down the air inside the carburetor, and the moisture that's in the air gets compressed out, and then that moisture can freeze inside the carburetor. And so what you have is ice that builds up inside the carburetor and can block airflow through the carburetor. So you can actually get a loss of power because ice builds up inside the carburetor. Usually what you have to do in an aircraft that has that feature, has a carburetor, you end up needing something called carb heat. So the carburetor has a feature where you can divert air from a shroud that goes around the muffler, and that muffler's hot, like mufflers tend to be on engines, and they divert air around that muffler so that air is nice and hot, and then they divert it through the carburetor, and it melts that ice out of there. So you got to use something called carb heat. Now, in a fuel injected engine, you don't have a carburetor, so you don't have to worry about carb heat. I'm sorry, you don't have to worry about carb icing, and so there's no feature for a carb heat in a plane with fuel injected engine. Again, you also have lots of power that is beneficial there. So there's a lot of benefits to that. The other benefit, if you ever get into, and you're not going to do that with a Beech Bonanza, but if you ever got into doing aerobatics with the airplane, fuel injection allows you to go inverted. Now I know I believe there's ways to do that with a carbureted engine as well. To go inverted, I think the carburetor is designed to be able to flip upside down and not lose fuel flow. But it's more challenging. But fuel injected engine, you're able to go inverted and do all kinds of things like that and not lose fuel flow. So that's really helpful as well. Yeah. So the Beech Bonanza, again, an amazing aircraft for a lot of people. It's kind of an aviation dream, aviation goal, because of the things you can do with it, stuff you can put inside, the fun that you can have with it. I know you don't want me to sink, but I'm sinking. I'm trying to land. I don't know what you want from me. Warning system. Flare, flare, flare. Flare, flare, flare. Nice. Nice. We're going to go around. Let's talk a little bit about high wing versus low wing aircraft. Obviously, you can see here that the Beech Bonanza is a low wing aircraft. Wings have benefits and they have drawbacks. Wings help us fly. If we didn't have wings, we wouldn't fly. So we like our wings. We're not going to get rid of our wings. But they also have drawbacks. And one of them is that you can't see through them, believe it or not. And so any place you have a wing, that's a place where you have a loss of visibility, right? So you can imagine, actually, let's put us inside the cockpit, inside the cabin here of our Beech Bonanza. And let's move our sight picture around just a little bit. So let's take a looky-loo out the window. What are we not able to see very well right here? It's kind of hard to see a lot of the ground, isn't it? anything that is below that wing is really difficult to see. So sometimes you got to like dip a wing and go into a turn and do some S turns and stuff to be able to see what in the world is below that wing, which is a little inconvenient when we are flying around the pattern, trying to see what is going on. There you go. I mean, don't get me wrong. That right there, that's a pretty sight. That's a real pretty sight, right? Even with the wing right there, that's just pretty. And so, don't get me wrong, we enjoy our low-wing aircraft. So, again, the downside of a low-wing aircraft is that it blocks your view of what's below you because you sit up on top of that wing, right? On a high-wing aircraft, the opposite is true. High-wing aircraft give you amazing visibility of what is below you, but they give you terrible visibility of what is above you. And so if you are flying around the pattern and as you have traffic above you, you need to be aware that traffic might be above you and you might not be able to see it. And so that is something you need to be very careful of when you're flying a high wing aircraft. The other thing with a low wing aircraft, so one of the uses of an airplane is for, say we're trying to do short field takeoffs and landings. So maybe we are trying to go into short field situation, landing on a short runway. Sometimes those runways are gravel or dirt or something. The thing with a low wing aircraft is that your wing is close to the ground that you are about to land on, right? I mean, makes sense. The wing is low, and so therefore, it will be close to the ground when you get there. And when you land on things like gravel, the wheels are going to kick up some of that gravel, and it's possible, I mean, it's not horrible, but that gravel can kick up and do some damage to the bottom of the wing. So one of the benefits of high wing aircraft is that they keep the wing up and off the ground. They allow the wing to be up nice and high off the ground to avoid all that damage that you might get from gravel and other things kicking up like that. The other thing, though, is that high wing versus low wing, we have something called ground effect. Ground effect is a sort of a bubble of air that within one wingspan of the ground, you get into what we call ground effect, and that is a bubble of air that is sort of spilling off your wings and creates a bit of a cushion underneath the wing of the airplane, so that when you are within one wingspan of the ground, you actually have much better lift happening for the airplane than you would if you were up higher than that, right? So, and that can cause issues where you're coming into land and you are trying to flare to land, and all of a sudden you are inside of ground effect and you get much better lift. And so you kind of stay off the ground until you can slow the airplane enough that it sinks back down onto the runway. So it can cause a little bit of uncertainty as you're getting very close to the runway and about to land. Ground effect, however, is beneficial, especially when flying off a short runway and we want to get up and over the top of obstacles. So, or on a soft field like a grass runway. What we might do is we take off, we get rolling, we take off, and then we point the nose back down and we fly the airplane inside of ground effect. So within about 10 feet off the runway, we keep it 10 feet off the runway and don't climb out yet. And we do that because now we're free of the drag of the ground. We're not rolling, or the friction of the ground is not there anymore, but we're off the ground and we are able to pick up speed much more quickly than if we were still on the ground. And then once we've built that speed up more quickly and in a shorter distance, then we climb out And it's actually a more efficient way of getting over the top of obstacles at the end of a runway. So what does this all have to do? Beechcraft Bonanza, again, low wing, that because your wing is on the bottom of the plane, you will actually get into ground effect a little bit. I mean, from the pilot's perspective, you'll be in ground effect at a higher altitude. Now, again, same length of wings, you're going to be in ground effect at the same height. The wing is going to be in ground effect at the same height. But because your landing gear is fixed immediately to the bottom of the wing and you are sitting up above that wing, you actually will hit that ground effect at what for you is higher, but what for the landing gear there's a longer distance to go through that ground effect before the landing gear actually touched down, versus a high wing airplane where you, the pilot, are below the wing and the wing gets into ground effect, but you are actually below that yet. And your landing gear are then below you yet. So your wheels are going to be much lower to the ground when you get into ground effect on a high wing aircraft versus a low wing aircraft, again, where you're going to have some time to get through ground effect. And it might, you might have to account for that as you're coming through. So just aerodynamically, as it relates to ground effect, you have two very different experiences. Another effect of high wing and low wing is stability. Now, this is not a huge difference, but when you hang the weight of the airplane below the wing, so in a high wing situation, most of the center of gravity, the center of mass, if you will, is hung below the wings. And so that provides a level of stability, that center of gravity is below where the wings are lifting from, right? The center of lift. But also, on a low wing aircraft, most of the weight of the plane is actually above the wings. Now, it's a little less stable, but it's not significantly less stable. So all that to say, low wing aircraft are still very stable, and you can account for that as you're designing your airplane. If you're going to have a low wing aircraft, you can also maybe give it a little more dihedral. And the dihedral is the angle of the wings as they're bolted to the plane. Give me 1 second here. As the wings are bolted to the plane, they're kind of angled up a little bit. Speaking of angled up, I'm climbing through the clouds here, like a rocket ship. But that dihedral gives you some more stability as well. And so you can account for that difference in stability because of high wing versus low wing with a little more dihedral. And there's other aerodynamic things you can do to fix for that. So that's beneficial there. So yeah, we're just cruising around here in the Beechcraft Bonanza, enjoying our flight here today. As we're talking about this, and if you're enjoying the information that we are discussing today, talking about a very special airplane, a plane that has a wonderful place in a lot of people's hearts. We'd love it if you check out our website, flightnerdairforce.com. We have a free membership there if you want to sign up, and we send out free information about aviation, tidbits about aviation history and how airplanes work and what's it like to get a pilot's license, how that all happens. That's free to sign up. Our membership is a lot like think Facebook, except we own it, so we don't have all the distractions of ads and grumpy people fighting with each other. We don't have any of that going on there. We don't get into politics. So it's free of all that, all the frustrating things that you might find in general social media, because we're, excuse me, we're there for the aviation. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. Couldn't even get to my cough button there in time. We're going to see if we can do a pass on the runway here. Actually, let's do this gear up. We'll do this the fun way. Low pass over the runway. Again, not recommended in the real world, but hey, we're in the sim, so let's do it. We're going to do a Maverick here and fly by the tower. So yeah, we would love it if you'd go to flightnerdairforce.com and sign up for our free membership, become part of the community. there where we can share amazing aviation information with you to help you really enjoy and learn more about the world of aviation that we love and we know that you love because you're here watching this video about the Beechcraft Bonanza, which is a really fun airplane. A little bit of history for you. The Beechcraft Bonanza was introduced in 1947, and it's made by the Beech Aircraft Corporation. I believe they've been bought out. I think, is it Textron that owns Beechcraft now, I believe. A lot of these companies that made these aircraft back in the day have been bought by bigger companies over time, but originally made by the Beech Aircraft Corporation back in the day, started off in 1947. Again, kind of like we mentioned before, variants having a straight tail like this, and you'll hear people talk about the straight tail Bonanza or the V-tail Bonanza. One of the best-selling general aviation aircraft out there because it really is an amazing airplane. A lot of fun, very versatile. Just a lot of fun to fly. Let's do another low pass. We'll follow the road. I know this road. This is to our left is a state park in the state of Wisconsin. We're again up in Door County, Wisconsin here. Peninsula State Park is to the left. I know this road here. I've driven it many times. I never realized how close the airport actually is to the road. I knew it was sort of up the road a little bit, but and we're flying from Ephraim Gibraltar Airport today. You ever come up to this part of Wisconsin, you got to go to Wilson's and get yourself an ice cream cone in Egg Harbor. I'm sorry, Ephraim, Wisconsin. Egg Harbor is another town up a little bit, but Ephraim, Wisconsin has Wilson's. That's Ephraim straight ahead in that bay. I'll fly you right over the ice cream place. Here we go. Usually in the summer, this harbor is full of sailboats and people enjoying some time on vacation. So right here by the shoreline, somewhere around here, we're pretty close, is Wilson's ice cream. Great ice cream cones, huge amount of ice cream right there in Ephraim, Wisconsin. But yeah, I never really realized how close the airport is to that road that goes past there. There is a great view of Peninsula State Park in Door County, Wisconsin, near Ephraim and Fish Creek, or as the locals call it, Fish Creek, Wisconsin. Let's do another touch and go at Ephraim here. Ephraim, Gibraltar. We're going to chop the power down into the white arc. Drop the gear. 20 degrees of flaps. 30 degrees. Nope, just kidding. We only do. Nope, we got 30. Let's see if we can get down quickly enough here to actually do a good touch and go. Gonna slow down a little bit. Again, on these videos, generally speaking, I am not trying to fly by the numbers. I'm just kind of having fun here and sharing with you some of the fun stuff about the aviation world as we fly. So don't look over at my airspeed indicator and say, well, if I'm ever going to fly a Beechcraft Bonanza, this is the airspeed I want to be flying on final approach. That is not how I handle these videos. So don't take it as such. As always, with everything that you see on YouTube, especially aviation related, don't take it as official training. You need to find you an official, see, especially a guy that flies like that. You need to find you a real flight instructor. I'm a licensed ground instructor, but I'm not legal to teach you how to fly the plane in the real world. We're just using the simulator as a tool to help us understand this airplane a little bit better and understand how flying works and have conversations like carb heat and why that's important. But yeah, don't take anything you hear on this video or any of my videos as actual instruction. If you want real instruction, actually, I do have an online ground school where you can prep to take your FAA written exam. If you're interested in getting your own pilot's license, you can go to our website and find the Briefing Room Squadron, www.flightnerdairforce.com, and look for the Briefing Room Squadron. And that is our monthly membership, not the free version, but the paid version of the membership, where we have our own private pilot ground school. We have an instrument ground school, certified flight instructor, helicopter pilot, drone pilot. All that fun stuff is there. And with a monthly membership or an annual membership, if you want to sign up for that, you can get access to all those things. And those are there to help you. It's a great place to just come and learn about aviation. But the goal really in the end is to help people pass their FAA written exams. So if you really wanted to work on getting a pilot's license, that's the way to start. That's the way to get you going. But this here, what we do on YouTube is not intended as actual instruction. If you want that, join us in the Briefing Room Squadron. As compared to most online ground schools, we are a good bit more affordable. So I'd really encourage you to take a look at our Briefing Room Squadron, where you get to learn about all this great stuff we've talked about related to different styles of aircraft, why center of gravity is important in aerodynamics, what dihedral is. We talk about all that in a way that is more organized toward helping you get ready for your FAA written exam. So we would love for you to join us over there on that adventure. Actually, I'm going to take us back inside the cabin. I know early in the video we talked about the interior of this plane and how many people you can fit in here. I'm going to keep trying to fly the plane while we look backwards. Can we see past the front seat or no? Let's see if I can. Fly while looking backwards. That's how we all got airsick that day. Looking backwards while flying the airplane. It's like reverse controls. Bad idea. I was trying to hope. Oh, look at that. So you can kind of see on this particular one, we've got the seat right here. Whoa, I'm going to drive us into the water if I'm not careful. Don't fly the plane while looking backwards. All right, let go of the controls, Ben. But you can kind of see we got one of the seats facing backwards. I think we got another row of seats facing forwards here. So we're set up for, I got to turn around. I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh, there we go. Okay. That makes more sense. Let's turn over toward this island out here. Is it Chambers Island? I'm not sure. I thought I saw a marker for a runway out here. Let's see if there is one, and if so, we can make a few passes over at that runway too. Chambers Island. Yeah. I think there is a runway over here, and I think you approach from over here in this bay over this way. So you can see in this particular model in the sim here, we've got the G1000 primary flight display set up here. And we got another multifunction display over here on the right with our navigational information. And then our backup steam gauges over here on the far right. If we ever run into trouble, here's our backup steam gauges, as you can see. Our airspeed indicator, attitude indicator, and our altimeter are over here. And our navigation, multifunction display, and then our, see, now if I actually looked at our primary flight display, I can fly the airplane climbing. But try and be more straight and level here in my flying because I'm scanning all over the crazy airplane. So you can see more of the flight controls of this particular plane. So this is interesting. The throttle here is a bit of a slider. So I'll show you how that moves up and down, right? As you move the throttle up and down. And then this is our prop control. That's another part of what makes this airplane complex is it's got a fixed pitch or constant, I'm sorry, not fixed pitch, constant speed propeller. So that this adjusts the angle of the propeller. And then this is our, what was that? Oh, my rudder pedals again. Doggone it. My rudder pedals randomly kick, and it kicked hard left rudder on me. That was not good. That'll mess with the passengers, won't it? And so our mixture control is over here, and that helps us set the mixture of fuel and air going into the engine, because we need to adjust that for different altitudes that we're flying at. Sorry, let's go over to Chambers Island. Let's talk about constant speed propellers, because they're a fun conversation too. Constant speed propellers allow us to set the power of the engine at the most efficient for the phase of flight that we're in. So in the hub of the propeller hub, we are able to, the propeller twists inside the hub, if you will. And as the propeller is spinning around, it also twists around to give it a different angle. So what I mean by angle is sort of, if you think of a fan blade, and some fan blades they spin sort of flat to the wind, but others of them twist and they have more of a bite, if you will. They impact the air with more of the surface of the propeller blade. And that's true of the airplane propeller blade as well. You can turn it so that it takes more of a bite out of the air. And that is actually going to help you in more of a cruise configuration where you're up at altitude and you're just going straight and level for a long distance to get you to your destination. And you want to, trying to fly and think at the same time. You want to be most fuel efficient in that situation. And so you can increase the bite or the angle of your propeller, and then set your power setting with your throttle and get the most efficient flight out of that situation. As opposed to, like in a takeoff configuration, you might want a less of a bite from the propeller and a higher speed RPM from that propeller blade. Give it a go around here. Try not to get into the trees. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Touch and go at Chamber Island here. Yeah, the sim like that's my second touch and go in the same session here. So I got credit for that one here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So yeah, that's some of the benefit of a constant speed propeller. It allows you to set the angle of the propeller for the most efficient operation in a given phase of flight. So climb out, take off and climb out are phases of flight, as well as cruise, like en route, and then descent and landing, another phase of flight. And each one of those is going to operate most efficiently at different settings. So to be able to adjust that angle of that propeller blade is really handy for that. So let's maybe do one more touch and go over here at Chambers Island. I have a fun little spot out here. But that also is part of the triumvirate, if you will, of what makes the Beechcraft Bonanza a complex aircraft. Again, I said earlier, retractable landing gear, electric flaps, and constant speed propeller is the other one. Constant speed and adjustable pitch mean basically the same thing. So that's the ability to set the pitch of the blade angle, to set the angle of the propeller blade. The alternative to that is a non-constant speed propeller. Is either a fixed pitch propeller, because it's just one solid piece of metal. It's not constant speed. It's fixed. So let's see where we are here. Probably climbing too much. Look at that. Chambers Island. Out in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Green Bay being the bay the body of water, not the city of NFL fame. Whoa. There we go. We're going to have to lose some altitude here. So let's get this into the white arc. Get a notch of flaps in there. The white arc that I'm referring to is that line on the airspeed indicator. On an old school airspeed indicator, it would be an arc. It would be a semicircle around, because the old airspeed indicators, as we call them, steam gauges, it was a dial, and kind of like a clock where needles go around the dial. In this situation, we have a straight line, but that's why we call it an arc. The white arc is the speed range where it is safe to lower the flaps, and generally the landing gear as well, but it's really designed for the flaps. So really what you want to do is, if you're going to use your flaps, you need to slow the airplane down so that your airspeed is what we call in the white arc, so that you don't damage your flaps. I got to lose some airspeed here too. Once again, this looks like a really fun airport to fly into in the real world too. Coming in inside the trees here. Hold it off, hold it off, hold it off, hold it off. It's really kind of cool with the sim. You can see the tracks that my tires made the last time I came in here. I'm gonna climb out here again. Gear up. And you can see the effect here of this IO 540. It's got a lot of power. Put our flaps up, and it can help us climb out really quickly. Let's, should we have a lot of fun? We should land, and we'll take off. We'll do a full stop landing, and we'll see if we can take off toward the trees. Should we try that? Let's land. Let's just do a 180 here. I will land. Again, things you don't do in the real world, but hey, we're in the sim because it's not the real world. And we can do what we want. That's what makes it fun. You can experiment with ideas to see if they would work. Many times they don't. But we'll try and land. This is not advisable at all. We are a little fast, and you're not set up an approach very well here. Okay, here we go. Gonna have to drop into the trees here, through the trees without hitting them. There we go. Look at that. Oh, they did kind of clear the runway a little bit of these trees. All right, now we're going to chop the power. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep taxiing out. I'm going to take us to the end of the runway, and we're going to watch the power of this IO 540. Bring this to 10 degrees of flaps. See what the power of this IO 540 is to help us get up and off the ground in a short field grass runway situation. And I'll try and do a short field, soft runway situation for you here. And again, the way we're going to do that is we will power up, hold the brakes. And once we get full power going on the engine, we will let go of the brakes. Kick it over here. See if I can make this turn. Yeah, we'll take the road while we're at it. Come on. Okay. So try and get situated best I can. I don't want to lose too much runway. Okay. Perfect. So now we're lined up on the runway. We're going to hold the brakes. We're going to put full throttle and wait for the engine to be developing full power. And then we will take the brakes, let the brakes go. We'll get rolling. And we are going to lift off at what would be rotation speed or VX speed in this situation. We will pop the plane up off the runway, and we will try and just hold it about 10 feet or so off the runway and let it build airspeed. And then as it does that, you'll see the airspeed come up pretty quickly. And then once we get up to our climb out speed, which will happen pretty quickly, we'll be able to climb out, and we'll totally avoid those trees at the end. This is a relatively long runway. Okay, so full power. I'm holding the brakes. You can't see that, but I am. So you see it is pulling against the brakes already. So we're making full power. I'm going to let it go, let the brakes go, and we will see if I can get this girl to come off the runway, and then we will hold it in ground effect like we talked about. Okay, up, hold it down in ground effect without touching the ground again. That's more challenging than it looks. We're doing all right already. I mean, we can climb out almost immediately. Put the gear up, pause the rate of climb, put the gear up. We're good to go. Look at that. We're still over the no tree zone. Pretty amazing, huh? That is the power of that IO 540. I want to do that again. That was really fun. We're going to crank and bank, as they call it. Whoa. Don't do that. That was what we call an accelerated stall, because we tried to crank and turn the plane too fast. That almost killed us. That would have been a bad day. Bad day. Again, we're in the sim. We can do whatever we want in the sim. We can try out all our dumb ideas in the sim. And that is one of the benefits of flying with a simulator, because it is not perfect, right? One of the benefits of the flying on the simulator is you can try things out that you can't try out in the real world and see what might happen. And you might learn really fast that flying a certain way, like I just did there, high climb out rate, and just taking the plane and cranking it over hard is a bad idea, because what happened there is what we call an accelerated stall. Even though our airspeed was fast enough to fly, the increased G load that we put on the wings aerodynamically made the thing stall. And so don't do that in the real world. And if you're not okay with crashing in the sim, I wouldn't do it in the sim either, but I just did. Because what the heck, you know? We'd have had to go all the way back to Ephraim, Gibraltar, but that's okay, because I had to restart the flight. But we're okay with that. Enjoying the beautiful Beechcraft Bonanza today. FlightNerdAirForce.com. Another really fun product we have at Flight Nerd Air Force is our weekly briefing. It's a newsletter that we put out every week, and it gives you a lot of fun aviation education, aviation training, where you can sit down for 15 minutes to 30 minutes once a week. And if you keep reading and learning from the material in that newsletter, in our weekly briefing, you will have the information that you need to go take your FAA written exam. All the old, if you don't sign up right away and you weren't getting them from the beginning when we started the newsletter, you can go back and get the old issues in our membership area as well. You'll have access to those when you sign up. But all that information, everything you need to study for the FAA written exam, 15 to 30 minutes a week, is there in the weekly briefing. And so that is actually only $5 a month. That's an amazing price. I'm actually just going to do a short field takeoff from right here, halfway down the runway, to show you the power of the IO 540. Here we go, baby. Keep it on the runway, Ben. Keep it on the runway, Ben. Up. Ground effect. Climbing out. Not even an issue. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, $5 a month for the Flight Nerd weekly briefing. We'll give you all the information that you need to study and prep for and take that FAA written exam. It's over a period of time. So this is not a cram. So you'll get dripped information. But if you're a busy person, like most people are today, breaking the information down into bite-sized bits that you can read on a weekly basis, and over a period of time, you learn what you need to learn to pass that exam. Plus, again, all the posts from the past that we've already written, they're there in the membership area, and you can go back and get caught up to where we're at. But they're all there for the low price of $5 a month. That's a cup of coffee every month, just once a month, for all that amazing educational material. And you don't even have to do it to prep for your FAA written exam. It's just great stuff. Like we're in the middle of aerodynamics right now, and learning why airplanes fly, why they work, how they work. So the next time you're on a flight, commercial flight to somewhere, you're heading on a business trip, or you're going to see family, and you're looking out the window and looking at that wing, and you're wondering, why in the world does that thing work? How does that work that way? Why are we still in the air? You'll know. You'll be able to look out there and you'll say, Bernoulli's principle and Newton's third law of motion are keeping that wing in the air. And you will be confident to know when you hear that bump, bump down below, that's the landing gear coming in, or that's the flaps going up and down, or that joot, 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 joot sound. That's the hydraulic system pumping hydraulic fluid to the flaps or something. You know, you'll have an understanding of what's going on, and maybe give you a little peace of mind as you're flying as well. So don't need to be actually working to get your take your FAA written exam. You can just love aviation and want to learn more about it. And we would love to have you at the Flight Nerd Weekly Briefing. $5 a month. You cannot beat that deal. All right, Chambers Island, final approach into the trees. Love this approach. This is amazing. Add a little power to stop our descent. Not sure where the official beginning of the runway is here, but we're going to use this. Boop. Look at that. That is beautiful. I'm going to go around. Not go around. Touch and go. Because we've already touched. And now we're going to go. There we go. Off the ground. Ground effect. Let's do this over the water. Gear up. Yeah. So much of aviation is just the effect, right? It's just the amazing feeling of acceleration, of the power of the engine, of the beauty of the airplane, the gorgeous lines designed on this thing to make it aerodynamic, to make it fun, the way you can pull away from the water like that. Let's do a high-speed pass over the runway. Again, not in the real world, but we're in the sim. We can do what we want in the sim. High-speed pass to feel the meow factor of the Beechcraft Bonanza. There we go. See how low I can get it. How low can I get? How low can I get without killing us all? Don't kill us all. Oh, that was low. Still below the trees. Yeah. That, my friends, would have probably ripped the wings off in the real world. But this isn't the real world. It's the sim. Don't do this in the real world. It's the best advice I can give you today. Don't do what we're doing in the real world. But we're not in the real world. We're in the sim, where we can try things out, play and experiment. Let's head back to Ephraim Gibraltar Airport in a beautiful Door County, Wisconsin. Look at that view of Green Bay. Man, so off to the left here, I'm going to point the nose right at it. We got Washington Island out over here. But then off the tip here, this is the tip of the thumb of Wisconsin. So all this beyond there, beyond the nose of my plane, is Lake Michigan. Vast amounts of water. And if you follow this bay, this is Green Bay, and if you follow it all the way to its end, I'll point the plane that way real quick for you to see. You can you see it? Can you see the end of it? Not quite. But if you were to take this all the way back that way, you would end up in the city of Green Bay. So there's a city and then the body of water. We're over the body of water near the tip of the thumb of the state of Wisconsin. Beautiful, beautiful part of the country. Cannot recommend enough that you go there to visit. We have not. I mean, we've been playing around with the Beechcraft Bonanza, which is an amazing airplane. We've not really done with it the kinds of things that make it amazing. We've done some, showing how we can get off of a short field and things like that with the powerful engine. But one of the things it's great at is long haul cruise. Right? You take it up to altitude, you hit the autopilot button, and let that autopilot guide you, and you can cruise over long distances comfortably. Again, take the family on vacation, go on a business trip. If you got an instrument rating, you can fly this thing in instrument conditions, reasonable instrument conditions, and it's a good long haul airplane. Long haul as general aviation aircraft go. We're not talking, this is not Qantas Airlines going from Houston to Sydney or anything like that. Like I said earlier, I think you can get about, where did I say? What did I say the range was? I don't know. I lost it. Oh, 800 to 1,000 nautical miles. Again, that's all depending on what you got for your loadout and how much fuel you got in there. But you can do really well. Get a nice long flight in this amazing airplane. There is a sister airplane to this one. Maybe we'll take a look at that some other time. Beechcraft made a twin version, which someone's going to kill me in the comments, but it's basically the sister version of this aircraft, and it's a twin engine, and that is the Beechcraft Baron, which is another beautiful airplane. The Baron, twin engine, a lot like this one, but a twin engine. So beautiful, beautiful airplanes. Let's clean things up. Bring the power back. Get us down into the white arc again as we approach Ephraim Gibraltar Airport in Ephraim, Wisconsin, also near Gibraltar, just down the road. Let's just do 1 notch of flaps for this approach. We'll keep it a little shallower. Lose some altitude. Man, look at this beautiful scenery. I have the sim set up for June, the month of June. So this is what early summer looks like in Wisconsin. I think the scenery is it's really helpful when we're flying for sim purposes like this. That it's easiest to see. The light is really nice in the month of June. And it's the distinctions between like farm fields and trees and things like that, forests, are much more distinct versus in the winter. Winter flying is beautiful as well, but it's a lot of white, and that gets hard to differentiate with what's what. All right, we are on final approach to Ephraim Gibraltar Airport in Door County, Wisconsin, in the Beechcraft Bonanza. Gotta slow down a little bit here. Pulling the nose back. Pitch for airspeed, power for the runway. If you pitch too much, you lose too much airspeed, which is kind of what's starting to happen here. There we go. Bring the power slowly back. Flare. Pull on the yoke. We're going to use most of this runway here. There you go. That was a little rough. I didn't quite butter that. I didn't butter that. Let's be honest. That nose wheel came down pretty hard. All right, and we're going to taxi back to the ramp and put the old girl in the hangar. But it's been fun. This is really an amazing airplane, the Beechcraft Bonanza. Again, a great, versatile airplane, great for a lot of different purposes. Comfortable long-haul flyer, bring the whole family on a trip. You can also short field this thing. Get great cruising speed, cruising range. It's just a really amazing aircraft. really been enjoying it today. Putting it to its testing it out, really. Show what it's capable of doing. But again, we would love it if you'd come and join us at flightnerdairforce.com. Even if you're not ready to buy anything today, joining our free we call it the main hangar community, is the free version of our community, where you can get regular updates from us, what's going on in the world of aviation, just to learn a little bit more about how airplanes work, and what's really fun about aviation. And it's all free, and we send regular updates out there. Okay. It's been fun flying with you today. Really enjoyed the time. Check us out, www.flightnerdairforce.com. I will see you on the next stream. Have a great day.